I was standing on the narrow balcony of our fourth-floor walk-up on Montrose Avenue, phone wedged between shoulder and ear, lighting the wrong end of a cigarette. The Hudson looked like dull pewter under the late March sky. My best friend Leela was talking so fast I only caught every third word. Engaged, she said. Registry at some castle in the Hudson Valley. White gold, not platinum, because apparently that matters now. I dropped the cigarette over the railing and watched it spiral down to the sidewalk where a dog lifted its leg against a fire hydrant. He is really doing it, I said out loud, meaning Ethan, my ex, the one who used to call me Hurricane because I blew through his life and left splinters. 3 years ago I had told Ethan I was not ready for a shared lease, let alone a shared last name, and I had watched the hope blink out of his brown eyes like a power outage. Leela kept talking. I interrupted. I married Jonah because he asked and Ethan did not, I said. The sentence tasted sour and victorious at the same time. I waited for Leela to gasp or scold me, but she only sighed. Girl, she said, you better not let Jonah hear that. I laughed. Jonah was at the gym or buying groceries or fixing the leaky showerhead. Dependable, predictable, 36 to my 32. He wore the same cologne since college and still used a paper map on road trips. He had never once called me a hurricane, and I told myself that was a good thing. Sunday, 11:30 in the morning, I was sliding into a booth at Pecavita, the new Peruvian place on Roebling with the $25 yuzu mimosas. Jonah had kissed my cheek, told me to order him the chilaquiles, and headed off to his weekly basketball game at McCarran Park. The table was full Leela, her boyfriend Marcus, my cousin Shay, and 2 of Shay's grad school friends I had never met. We were 3 mimosas in when the subject circled back to Ethan's engagement. Someone had seen the ring photo on Instagram. A cushion-cut, vintage setting, caption heart emojis everywhere. I rolled my eyes so hard they hurt. He upgraded, I said. Good for him. Then the words just slipped, oily and loud. I settled for Jonah, but at least I have a ring on my finger and a guy who still opens doors. The table went quiet. Forks stopped scraping plates. Shay's friend with the septum ring actually set her phone down. I laughed again, this time thinner. Come on, I said, you all know what I mean. Ethan was a mess, Jonah is safe. Leela reached across the table, fingers closing around my wrist. Shut up, she whispered. I turned. Jonah stood at the edge of the patio, gym bag slung over one shoulder, sweat darkening the neck of his gray t-shirt. He must have finished the game early. His eyes were wide, fixed on me. I felt the heat rush to my face, but I lifted my chin. What I said, it is not like it is a secret. We are happy, right? Jonah's jaw flexed. Not anymore, he said, voice low enough only our table could hear. Then louder, for the whole patio, I am done being your consolation prize. He spun on his heel and disappeared around the corner. I sat frozen, yuzu mimosa halfway to my lips, tasting like pennies and regret. By the time I paid the bill and caught a rideshare home, Jonah had already been there. Drawers stood open, hangers scattered on the bedroom floor like a flock of dead birds. His leather duffel was gone from the top shelf. The toothbrush that always leaned against mine in the cracked ceramic cup was missing. I stood in the doorway of our closet and felt the silence press against my eardrums. He will cool off, I told myself. He loves me. I texted him, where are you? We need to talk. 3 dots appeared, then vanished. No reply. I spent Monday at the office, scrolling between spreadsheets and Jonah's Instagram. Nothing new. I texted again, I did not mean it like that. He read it and did not answer. Tuesday I left work early and walked to the basketball court. He was mid-game, sneakers squeaking, hair damp. I waited on the sideline until the final whistle. When he saw me, he grabbed his water bottle and walked the other direction. I caught up on Kent Avenue, grabbing his elbow. Stop, I said. He looked at my hand until I let go. You humiliated me, he said. In front of people who respect me, I am not a joke. I swallowed. I was tipsy. People say dumb things. You meant it, he said. Maybe not every syllable, but enough. I have spent 4 years proving I am more than the guy you picked second. I am tired. He turned away. I watched his shoulders disappear into the evening crowd. Wednesday, Leela called. Jonah is staying with Marcus and me, she said. Do not come here. Thursday my mother rang from Cleveland. Shay told her everything. I have never raised a daughter to speak like that, she said. Fix it or live with the shame. I could not fix it with words anymore, so I tried gifts. I sent Jonah a vintage vinyl of Coltrane he had been hunting for months. It showed up on our doorstep again Saturday morning, returned to sender scrawled in his neat block letters. I tried nostalgia. I posted a photo from our honeymoon in Oaxaca, the one where he is holding a paper cone of chapulines and laughing. I tagged him. He untagged himself within minutes. I tried sex. I showed up at Marcus' apartment in a trench coat and not much else. Jonah opened the door, took one look, and closed it again. I stood in the hallway clutching the lapels while neighbors walked past with grocery bags. I tried tears. I waited outside his office after work, tears streaming like a busted faucet. He stepped around me, got into a rideshare, and did not look back. Each attempt left me smaller. Each silence from him grew teeth. Our mutual friends chose sides quickly. The basketball group stopped inviting me to weekend games. Leela blocked my number. Even the bodega guy on our corner, who used to slip me free lollipops, rang up my kombucha in stony silence. One afternoon, I came home to find the lease renewal notice slipped under the door. Jonah had already signed his release. I sat on the floor of the living room and stared at the blank line next to my name until the sun went down. The last conversation happened on the pedestrian walkway of the Williamsburg Bridge at dusk. I had texted him from a burner app 10 minutes. I will wait forever if I have to. He showed up in a windbreaker the color of old moss. Below us, traffic thudded like a slow heartbeat. I said, I miss you. He looked out over the water. I miss who I thought you were. I flinched. You took vows. You cannot just leave. He faced me fully. You broke them first. You said you settled. That is not a wound you stitch up with brunch and flowers. I reached for his hand. He let me touch his fingertips, then pulled away. I am moving to Denver next month, he said. New job, new life. You should figure out what you want yours to look like without me. I laughed, the sound brittle. Denver, you hate the cold. I hate being somebody's backup plan more. He started walking back toward Brooklyn. I called after him, I will change. I will do anything. He paused, looked over his shoulder. The only thing I ever needed was for you to want me first. You missed your window. Then he was gone. I stood there until the city lights blinked on, until cyclists swerved around me like I was just another obstacle on the bridge. I thought about the night Jonah first told me he loved me, on this same walkway, how I had rolled my eyes and said, of course you do. I had thought that made me powerful. Now I understood it just made me cruel. The divorce papers arrived by certified mail 3 weeks later. He had already filled out his portion. All I had to do was sign. I sold the furniture we had chosen together. The mid-century couch went to a grad student who haggled over $20. The record player Jonah had restored went for half its worth to a guy who called it a steal. I packed my clothes into garbage bags because I could not face the empty closet. On the last day, I walked the apartment barefoot, checking drawers for anything left behind. In the back of the bathroom cabinet, I found Jonah's backup glasses, the thick black frames he wore when his contacts irritated him. I held them up to the window light, then tucked them into my pocket like a thief. I moved into a studio on the top floor of a walk-up in Ridgewood. The radiator hissed all night, and the upstairs neighbor practiced trombone at 2 in the morning. I started seeing a therapist who charged too much and told me things I did not want to hear. 6 months later, Leela texted me a photo from a wedding in Denver. Jonah stood in a gray suit, arm around a woman with auburn hair and a smile that reached her eyes. The caption read, "Meet the new Mrs. Lawson." I stared until the screen went dark. I did not cry. I had used up all the easy tears months ago. Instead, I walked to the bodega and bought a single yellow rose, the kind Jonah used to bring me every Friday because he knew I hated how cut flowers died so fast. I placed it in an empty pickle jar on the windowsill and watched it wilt. Some nights I still climb the fire escape and stare toward the bridge, imagining the moment I could have said something different, chosen kindness over ego. The skyline never answers back. The apartment is quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional siren. I have learned to cook for one, to fold sheets without swearing, to wake up without expecting a good morning text. The therapist says this is growth. I call it penance. Yesterday, I mailed Jonah's glasses to his office in Denver with no return address. Inside the case, I tucked a note I finally see clearly. Too late, but clear.